Good morning. Good morning, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim B. Martin. I'm being a little silly this morning. This is Ephraim B. Martin. I'm 58 years old. Welcome to Girl Dad YouTube channel. How you fathers doing today? It's another Sunday, and we have another incredible live stream. Yes, sir. We do. Fathers, for those of you who are just waking up, for those of you who've been up, welcome. All fathers are welcome, regardless of your ethnic group, background, and or culture. I welcome you all. To all my Spanish speakers, bienvenidos en aquí to YouTube. Appreciate you. All right. So, what do we got going on today, fathers? Today, fathers, we are going to be speaking about understanding our father-daughter assignment. And what does that mean, fathers? Well, as a father of adult girls, 35, 29, 26, and 24, when we talk about the assignment of our daughters, right? I'm talking about the relationship building. I'm talking about expectations. I'm talking about obligations. I'm talking about everything that fathers are going to be responsible for from birth to 18 years of age. And understanding the assignment in which we are getting ready to get ourselves into or have been into is very critical, and it's very necessary for us to understand so we can execute it, right? In order for our daughters to be healthy young women, mentally, spiritually, body, mind, spirit, soul, we have to make sure that not only are we present, but we have to be paying attention, fathers, right? Paying attention means we understand their movement, we understand how they're moving, we understand their moods up and down, their emotional highs up and down, their physical changes with their bodies, their language, verbal, nonverbal. That is a part of understanding our father-daughter assignment. And for many of us that are having daughters for the very first time, they may be toddlers, they may be preteen, they may be teenagers, they may be getting ready to graduate from high school. It's been a journey, fathers, right? And I can honestly tell you, I enjoyed every minute of my daughter's rearing, birth to 18 years of age. They're all adult women now. They are all amazing women. And don't get to see them as often and spend as much time with them as often. But when I do, we hang out, we do our thing, and we catch up. So I just want to extend my hand to all fathers that are raising baby girls for the first time, because it's going to be challenging, and there's going to be a lot of rewards at the end of the day, fathers. Fathers, what I want to say to you is I want you to not be... Let's see. I want you to not be, not necessarily nervous. Well, you're going to be nervous, but I don't want you to be scared when it comes to the rearing of our daughters, because it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be new, right? A lot of us, we're not going to have those tools. We're not born with them. We're men, right? We're born with the leadership. We are born with the guidance. We are born with taking our daughters by the hand and making sure we provide them protection and safety, right? That's what we're born with. So we understand those things, and we as our daughters get older and as they mature and as they, come into new experiences, we have to make adjustments, major adjustments with them. My book, Daddy's Girls, as you can see, it's up in the right-hand corner, is available at Amazon.com. And when I talk about understanding our father-daughter assignment, I have things in my book that I explain understanding our father-daughter assignment. Particularly in my book, I have what's called a father-daughter contract. right? It's a written contract between fathers and daughters. For those fathers, I never had to use the contract, but I made it available to all fathers because some fathers will need to get into a contract with their daughters between the 10 and 18 years of age, because their daughters are going to bring them issues. They're going to bring them problems. There's going to be, for some fathers, a disconnect with their daughters. And it's real. Let me tell you, it's real. I saw it. I worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. I'm a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer, and I worked in K-12 education. I'm a former teacher, restorative justice coordinator, and dean of students. So worked around kids for 30 years, worked around families for 30 years from all socioeconomic backgrounds, right? And the one thing I know about a lot of fathers for the very first time having daughters, most fathers don't know what to do with their baby girls. So that's why I'm here. Grow That YouTube channel is to help those fathers channel that energy, understand our position, understand our assignment with the father-daughter relationship. That's what Grow That YouTube channel is here. As you can see at the bottom, you can subscribe, like, share. Feel free to use my videos. Feel free to make reaction videos. Feel free to do whatever you need to do with my videos. But I am an educational and informational resource when it comes to instruction, of helping fathers understand our sense of urgency with our baby girls. Okay? So I've got 6 great videos today. They're all about 5 minutes each. The first video I'm going to show, I did send the originator a email to see if I could have permission to use their video. I did not get her email back. So I am hoping that they're going to be okay with me using their video. The other 5 videos are coming from mainstream media where I don't need permission. But out of courtesy, since I'm using this video, this first video, I did reach out to the originator. I did not hear back a yes or a no. So I'm going to use it, and I believe that it's fair use. If it's not fair use and YouTube ends up blocking this live stream at the end, more than likely what I'm going to have to do is remove the very first video of a little over 5 minutes from this live stream. And then we'll start off with the second one. So I'm not going to know that until after this live stream is over. And then I'll take a look at it, and YouTube will do what YouTube does. So hopefully it doesn't get blocked, and we can enjoy this video because it's an awesome video. It's really an awesome video. So fathers, once again, welcome. And it's time to process. It's time to get engaged. It's time to check out Grow That YouTube channel, and let's share. Let's subscribe, let's like, let's share, and let's get in learning mode, okay? All right, fathers, let's check out this first video. Give me a second, fathers. I am going to have to set up my screen share. Okay.
Daughters on Their Own.
This is an excellent video. Let me tell you, I'm glad I came across it because it is excellent. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, fathers of daughters. Here's the very first video.
Daughters on Their Own. Exploring the impact of father absence in the absent father effect on daughters. Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a powerful book that delves into a topic that continues to resonate deeply. The Absent Father Effect on Daughters by Susan Schwartz. This isn't just about dads who are physically gone. It explores the impact of emotionally distant fathers on their daughters' lives and relationships. In today's world, family structures are more diverse than ever. Single-parent households are on the rise, and even in 2-parent homes, emotional disconnection can be just as damaging as physical absence. The Absent Father Effect on Daughters offers a lens to understand the complex ways this dynamic can shape a woman's journey. The book explores several key themes that resonate with the challenges women face today. 1. Identity and self-esteem. A father's absence can create a significant void in a daughter's sense of self. 1. Schwartz emphasizes the profound psychological impact of this absence, particularly during a girl's formative years. 1. Without a strong paternal figure offering love, guidance, and affirmation, daughters may struggle to develop a healthy sense of self-worth. 1. This can manifest in several ways. Difficulty setting boundaries. A daughter may struggle to establish healthy boundaries in relationships, often prioritizing the needs of others over her own. This stems from a deep-seated desire to be liked and accepted, a yearning for the validation she may not have received from her father. People-pleasing tendencies. She might become a chronic people-pleaser, molding herself to fit the expectations of others. This pattern can lead to resentment, exhaustion, and difficulty asserting her needs. Constant need for external approval. Daughters of emotionally absent fathers may develop a constant need for external validation. They seek approval from friends, partners, or even colleagues, often feeling insecure or inadequate without it. 2. Relationships and attachment styles. A mirror to the past? The book delves into the connection between a father's absence and a daughter's attachment style in romantic relationships. Schwartz highlights how a girl's early experiences with her father can influence how she forms bonds with romantic partners later in life. Here's how this can play out. Trust issues and intimacy phobia. A daughter may struggle with trust due to the emotional distance she experienced from her father. This can make it difficult for her to form secure attachments in romantic relationships. She might fear intimacy or unconsciously sabotage relationships by pushing partners away before they get too close. Unconscious repetition. In some cases, daughters may be drawn to emotionally unavailable partners, mirroring the distance they experienced with their father. This unconscious pattern can keep them stuck in a cycle of unhealthy relationships. Breaking the cycle. The Absent Father Effect on Daughters is not simply a book about the pain of the past. Schwartz emphasizes the power of healing and personal growth. The book offers valuable tools and strategies for daughters of emotionally absent fathers to understand their past. Therapy can be a powerful tool for unpacking the impact of their father's absence. By understanding the root causes of their emotional patterns, daughters can begin to heal. Challenge negative self-beliefs. Schwartz encourages readers to rewrite their internal narratives. By challenging negative self-beliefs formed in childhood, daughters can build a stronger sense of self-worth and confidence. Develop healthy coping mechanisms. The book provides tools for developing healthy coping mechanisms to manage difficult emotions and build resilience. This book offers insights not just for daughters of absent fathers, but for anyone seeking to understand themselves and their relationships better. Here's how you can incorporate this wisdom into your own journey. Self-awareness is key. The first step is acknowledging the impact your father figure, or lack thereof, may have had on you. Take time to reflect on your childhood experiences and how they might influence your present relationships. Reframing your narrative. Our past shapes us, but it doesn't define us. Challenge negative self-beliefs and rewrite your internal narrative. Focus on your strengths and the qualities that make you unique. Building healthy relationships. The book encourages setting boundaries and prioritizing healthy relationships. Surround yourself with supportive people who value you for who you are. Seeking professional help. If you're struggling to overcome the impact of your father's absence, therapy can be a valuable resource. A therapist can provide guidance and support as you navigate healing and growth. Remember, you are not defined by your past. By understanding the impact of your father's absence and actively working on healing, you can build stronger, healthier relationships and create a fulfilling future for yourself. The Absent Father Effect on Daughters offers a powerful exploration of a complex topic. By understanding the impact of a father's absence, we can foster stronger relationships and create healthier emotional patterns, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Have you read The Absent Father Effect on Daughters? Do you have any experiences you'd like to share? Leave a comment below and let's keep the conversation going.
Fathers, excellent video. Fathers of daughters, what is your view? What do you think about this video, Fathers of Daughters? I wanted to share this video because it's so important for fathers to be a part of their daughters' lives. Whether you look at the data, the statistics, we have a fatherless epidemic in the United States of America, regardless of your ethnic group, background, or culture. we have a fatherless epidemic in the United States of America when it comes to our children, our baby girls in particular. So needed to share that video. It was necessary. And, you know, when I speak to a lot of adult women and just a lot of the issues that adult women have with their fathers or not have a relationship with their fathers at all, it stemmed from their childhood, feeling the disconnect, feeling abandoned, feeling not validated, just a lot of different issues. And a lot of these women end up in therapy because of their fatherhood or fatherless issues, as they would say. And fathers, we have the opportunity, the perfect opportunity with our baby girls from the time that they're born, birth to 18. We have 18 years to get it right. And it just really saddens me when I speak to a lot of adult women that don't have a relationship with their fathers. They've, you know, a lot of them have cut their fathers off. And it's sad. They don't speak to them and they just don't have a relationship with them. So that saddens me because I have a great relationship with all of my girls. And for me, because I enjoyed fatherhood so much, particularly having daughters, I just can't understand where the breakdown happens with fathers and daughters. I really don't get it. When I was a probation officer, state juvenile probation officer working in the criminal justice system, that was my first exposure to the disconnect of fathers and daughters. Because 90% of my young probationers, female, that I supervised, they were runaway little girls, 90% of them. And that's crazy. 10% weren't, 90% were. So 90% had fatherless issues, have father issues. They didn't have men in their life that guided them. They didn't have uncles. They didn't have first male cousins. And they were pretty much little girls out on their own, trying to figure this world out by themselves. Nothing was explained to them. And then you know what ends up happening with little girls when they go to little boys, when they're pre-teenagers, them little knucklehead little boys end up getting them wrapped up, jacked up, and turn them out a lot of times. And once your baby girl gets wrapped up in a little boy, and when she's a preteen, it's almost impossible to get her back because she's going to listen to that little boy, her boyfriend. She's going to believe him, particularly if she didn't have a relationship with her father or uncles. She will listen to them. That's what little girls do. So, you know, I'm all about education and helping fathers understand our sense of urgency. It is so urgent, fathers. The adjustments that we have to make. I cover 3 stages of development in my book, Daddy's Girls: birth to 10 years old, 11 to 13, and 14 to 18. In each one of those stages, there's going to be particular challenges, but there's going to be solutions along the way. The first 10 years are the most critical. That is the opportunity that we must have, fathers, to build the solid relationship that we have to have with our daughters. If we lose them, birth to 10, they're going to make us pay 11 to 13 and 14 to 18. I can promise you. I saw it all the time in the criminal justice system. I saw it all the time when I worked in K-12 education. Okay? So we have to get this right, fathers. We cannot blow birth to 10 years of age. We have to be there. We have to not only be visible, we have to be physical. Okay? And that's just what it is, fathers. So, excellent video. Next video I want to share with you is by a gentleman by the name of Jordan Peterson. He's a psychologist. And Jordan Peterson is on the worldwide stage for a number of reasons. He's to me, he's a brilliant man. He's an incredible father, and he provides solutions. A lot of feminists have problems with Jordan Peterson because they think he's a male chauvinist and misogynistic. I don't believe so. If you look at his videos, he provides solutions. And most feminists, I'm sure, are going to think that I'm misogynist, or they're going to think if you're not down with feminism, you're anti-feminine. You're anti-feminist. So it's all good. I didn't raise my daughters to be feminists. I raised them in the real world to understand men, boys. I raised my daughters in the real world to be able to understand how to move amongst men. I didn't raise them to be feminists because I think feminism is a bad idea. But it is what it is, right? So this next video with Jordan Peterson, he's speaking with his father. It's about an 8-minute video. And I came across it and I thought it would be relevant and prevalent for today to engage and watch this discussion with him and his father, and just the questions that he asks his dad. Okay, let me get it set up, fathers. Let's see. Okay, fathers of daughters, video number 2, Jordan Peterson with his father.
Would you say that you've had a happy marriage?
Let me start it over. I believe that's the beginning. Let me make sure.
Would you say that you've had a happy marriage?
Yep, I would say I have had a happy marriage.
What was more important to you, your family or your career?
No doubt at all. Family.
What was the best years you spent with your family?
Well, I think the best years were the years that you guys were home and growing up. They were great years.
And of those years, younger kids, older kids, what was better for you?
Oh, I can't say that because it was all good. No, there's no doubt that was the best time of my life.
Why?
Oh, who knows why?
Come on.
I think it's instinctive for some people.
Yeah, well, you're really good with little kids.
Well, there was no doubt. Yeah.
You seem to trust them.
Well, I seem to be relatively good at that, yeah. And most little kids trusted me.
Yeah.
Not very many that I had shy away from me.
President Trump recently issued a warning from his Mar-a-Lago home. Quote, "Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There are 3 reasons why the central banks are dumping the US dollar: inflation, deficit spending, and our insurmountable national debt. The fact is, there is one asset that has withstood famine, wars, and political and economic upheaval dating back to biblical times: gold. And you can own it in a tax-sheltered retirement account with the help of Birch Gold. That's right, Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k, maybe from a previous employer, into an IRA in gold. When currencies fail, gold is a safe haven. How much more time does the dollar have? Protect your savings with gold. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers. Text Jordan to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold. Again, text Jordan to 989898.
So you spent a lot of time with me when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that particularly?
Well, what can I say? What do I remember about it? I don't know. I remember quite a few things, but I don't know if any of them are god awful important, you know?
Well, pick one.
Well, I remember the time that we hatched those chicks in the porch
In Nipawin.
in Nipawin.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
That was interesting.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember driving home with you to Nacum a number of times and talking the whole time because you'd never stop asking questions.
Yeah, well, hasn't changed much.
No, I know.
You kind of are who you are.
Yeah, that's right. No, there were lots of good times, Jordan. All good times.
I think I remember mostly when I was a little kid reading with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was great. That was so much fun.
I thought so. Because what I
Yeah,
remember, I was pretty little, but what I remember is that, well, first of all, we had a Dr. Seuss book come every week or something like that because we were in a book club. And you used to come home every night. And after dinner, we would lay on the rug. We had one of those hooked rugs. And we'd lay on the rug and you'd put your arm around me and away we'd go through one or two books. And you taught me to read, and I remember that going on for quite a long time. And it was wonderful to have the attention and, and to be given that gift of literacy as well and to have it instilled in me in such a young age. I loved reading. It's really shaped my life in every possible way. So, and I remember, one of the things that was different about you, we had our differences when I was a teenager. It sounds kind of like the ones you had with your dad, both stubborn. And I had hanging around with rough kids. And we misbehaved a lot of drinking and that sort of thing, and you put up with them. That's about all you should have done, really, I suppose. But most of my friends, they didn't have a good relationship with their fathers. They had no respect for them. And it was,
I know.
Yeah. It was really rough on them. Those my friends. Those are my teenage friends, or the ones in junior high. Particularly.
Yeah, I know.
And when we were alone with my friends, they'd have a bad interaction with their dad or something, and they'd be pretty hard on him, badmouth him, and I could tell they were mad, bitter, resentful, angry about it, and they had their reasons, or hurt by it, or a combination of all those things, disappointed. But I never felt that way. Even when we had altercations.
Yeah.
I knew that fundamentally, despite whatever altercations we might have, that you were on the side of my better angels, let's say.
Well.
Yeah, well, that's a tricky thing to manage,
Always that.
Yeah, but it's a tricky thing to manage because when you have kids, you kind of, on the one hand, you want to like the kid, but on the other hand, you want to like the kid that they could be even better. So you have to kind of balance that acceptance for and appreciation for who they are right now with a desire to foster further development. And I think mothers sort of specialize in the former and dads to some degree specialize in the latter. It's not that cut and dried, obviously. But the fact that you had belief in my potential has always been of inestimable value. And one of the things that really hurt me when I went on tour and talked to so many people was that was so lacking for so many people. They didn't have someone who really had their back, like really, when the chips were down. Both you and Mom, I knew of that. I knew that was true. And that gives you kind of a foundation underneath you, Well, you obviously had it with your grandparents and your mother.
Yep.
I don't know what it would be like to grow up without that. You'd be pretty lost, pretty alone.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt it would be tough. Anyhow, always, Mom and I always said we were young and dumb. So everything goes well.
Fathers of daughters. What are your thoughts on that video with Jordan Peterson and his father? I think that is an excellent video. And it's a display of him giving gratitude for his father, you know, and I just hope my daughters know how blessed they are. They still have their mother and their father. Their mother is 55 years of age, and their father, me, I'm 58 years of age. I'll be turning 59 on May 31st. And they know how blessed they are. And they know, particularly when they've come into relationships with other young women that don't have fathers that were available to them and in their life. And they know how blessed they are. My girls know how blessed they are. So I respect, that was a great video for me. I'm glad I came across it. I just wanted to share it because, you know, when I was a state juvenile probation officer, as well as when I worked in K-12 education, I saw it. Not every child, not every baby girl has parents. Not every daughter has a father. Not every daughter has uncles or, you know, first cousins, first male cousins. And that is so important. I'm close to so many of my first female cousins. I come from a very, very big family. My father came from a family of 14 or 15 brothers and sisters, the Martins. So we're stacked in family. And, you know, we have family reunions every few years. We get together, and they're either in Indiana, Colorado, or California, or Arkansas. So we also have a family tree, which my incredible cousins, Lisa and Cindy, my first cousins, put together and did the research on for over probably 3 to 5 years. They're incredible women. Love them girls to death with all my heart. So I just thought that was a great tribute with this father being able to speak. My father was murdered when I was 2, getting ready to turn 3. So I was raised without a father. So I think I've always overextended myself for my girls. And, you know, when you see the videos like this just are very comforting. And, you know, his father's still living. So I know Jordan Peterson is cherishing his father for his days on this earth. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm glad he shared it with us. So I just want to share it with you, fathers, and, you know, take it all in and just see what his father, Jordan Peterson's father, had to say. He remembers a lot. Jordan Peterson remembers a lot of good things. And I was fortunate enough. I didn't battle with any of my daughters. I understood my daughters. I had a different angle. And I believe because working in the criminal justice system as a probation officer, I got a lot of answers. And I was able to implement and try a lot of things with my daughters because I was a probation officer. And then I became a teacher and dean of students and restorative justice coordinator in K-12 education. So I continued working with children and continued to work on my craft and perfecting my relationship with my baby girls. So I've always had a totally different angle when it comes to working with girls, raising my daughters. I've always had a different perspective. I've always had different lens. So my experience has saved my butt. It really, really has. And I'm grateful to God for his blessings with my baby girls. Okay, let's take a look at, let me get this next video set up, fathers.
It is 7.
Okay, fathers. Video number 3.
It is 7:40. Welcome back, parents. You might not want to believe it, but many of your kids are experimenting a lot more than you think they are with drugs and alcohol and doing other sorts of risky behaviors. As they head back to school, now is the time to have an honest discussion with them. But how do you do that? What's the best way? Well, we're going to get an opinion. Joining me live, Dr. Louis Perfetta, an ER doctor who's often one of the first to recognize what your children are doing. Doctor, so good to see you again. You have just a raw way of giving us facts. I want to talk to you about how you experience this and how you want parents to talk to their kids about what they're doing.
Well, I think the biggest concern right now with these young people going back is there's a sort of tremendous need for socialization and sort of being part of this group when they go back to college. But one of the things that you need to talk to your kids about is dealing with sharing of Adderall and some of the studying drugs, some of the amphetamine drugs that are used for ADHD. It is really common on college campuses. Some of the most popular kids on campus are the kids that have prescription drugs, also drugs like Xanax and Ativan and sedatives. So prescription drug abuse on college campuses is much more rampant than you think. And many of these drugs can be purchased online very easily. And a lot of it ends up being fentanyl too. So we have to have open, honest talks with your kids about those.
I know too, it's at the high school level too. If you talk to any high schooler, you know that they're doing the same things a lot of times. I think it's hard sometimes for parents. They don't want to talk to them in a way that makes it sound like it's okay. They also don't want to talk about it in a way where there's like, you're going to be punished if you do this. What is the best way to educate them and know that they can come to you and try to help them not do it in the first place?
Well, that horse has left the barn. I mean, for the most part, most of these young people are using marijuana products or they're drinking alcohol. You have to have an open, honest discussion with them about what your world will look like if they die from it. And that's where you start. You have to start from a place of love and just talk to them about how the whole future would look without them in it. And once you start from that platform, instead of just sort of scolding them, talk about yourself and about how the world would look without your child in it. And then once you reach that consensus, then you can have more of an open dialogue in how these drugs are used on college campuses. But you have to start.
Yeah, and I know you speak to college campuses, and you want these high schoolers to hear, because you see that end result when that college kid or someone younger is actually dead. You go and speak. What do you tell those kids? What do you say to them?
I tell them, I said, "You have any idea what it's like walking into a room and tell your mother and father you've been killed?" And because they always ask ER docs, "What's the worst thing you ever say?" I said, "It's the look on your parents' face when I tell them you're dead." That's the worst thing. Those are the things that keep every emergency physician up at night. And we have to. That's what we're looking to prevent. So we have to have that dialogue early. We have to have it open and honest. We have to really express how much we love our children. Start there and then work your way backwards. And that's a good place to begin this conversation.
We're really almost out of time, but really quickly, what are the things that you're seeing the most beyond, Adderall, and then seeing things that people don't know that has fentanyl in it? What else are you seeing that maybe parents don't even know is happening?
Well, it's alcohol, especially get the kids not to drink from community punches because alcohol content's not regulated. Oftentimes they can be spiked with sedatives, benzodiazepines, things like that. Also, keep them away from whippets, inhaled nitrous oxide canisters. It's something that many parents aren't aware of. It's another cause fatalities. Teach them responsible drinking, a beer here and there. Talk to them about responsible marijuana use. And make sure that if you're a parent, you're not eating any of your kids' candy that they bring home from college, because a lot of it is marijuana.
All right, Dr. Perfetta, thank you so much. We sure do appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Okay, fathers, what are your thoughts on that video? Another excellent video that is needed and necessary. Talking about high school kids and college kids. One of the things I made sure of, I started speaking with my daughters when they were 5 years old about their bodies, because I was a probation officer, state juvenile probation officers, and I needed them to understand that no one is to touch them inappropriately or speak to them inappropriately. So at 5 years of age, that started with my very own daughters. And I appreciate this video because this is an ER doctor. He's explaining what happens to a lot of these children. And yes, they're young adults when they get to college, but they're still our kids, always will be. And I can tell you, when I was a state juvenile probation officer, 90 to 95% of the young girls, the young probationers that I supervised, they were on drugs. 90 to 95%. They were on drugs. And most of them were alcohol related. They drank a lot. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old little girls drinking. A lot of them would be driving. And it's a conversation. It's conversations that we have to have. This is part of the understanding our father-daughter assignment. Fathers, we have to, as early as you can, as you feel is necessary. Like I said, with my daughters, it was 5 years of age. That's when I thought it was appropriate for my daughters. And I continued on when they were teenagers and once I got to high school. We have to have these tough discussions. It's never going to be easy. It's going to be uncomfortable for most fathers, but you got to have these discussions. And you have to know who their peer group is, who they're hanging out with, who are they moving with, who is their peer group. You got to know who these kids are, because that's going to dictate their behavior a lot of times. It's going to change their moods a lot of times. And I've said this in several videos that I've made on my live streams. Whenever you see your kids, your daughters, changing friends, that is a sign they are having issues. They are struggling somewhere, because kids just don't switch friends. That doesn't happen. Their peer group is their peer group. Their immediate friends are their immediate friends. They're not necessarily in the neighborhood in which they grew up with. They could have met them at school, but you got to know who these kids are, fathers. I'm telling you. Or else your daughters are going to end up in a situation. So we have to be paying attention, fathers. Okay? And that's what Grow Dad YouTube channel is doing. I'm providing education through instruction of information. That's how I get down. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm giving back to fathers. This is what I enjoy doing because I care. I have 4 adult daughters. So I want to help other fathers, regardless of your ethnic group, background, and culture, and helping them understand our sense of urgency that we must have in order to sustain lifelong. That's the key, lifelong relationships with our baby girls. Okay, fathers, we have a few more videos, and they're going to be good. So let me set up this next video, fathers.
Media show.
Okay, fathers, this is video number 4. Here we go.
There's often a stigma surrounding runaway children compared to those who've gone missing. No alerts, no search parties. According to experts on human sex trafficking, these kids are facing some of the same dangers.
So tonight we introduce you to a local family. It's now day 16 without their child, who's been classified as a runaway. Our Alexis Green shares their story.
You might have come across a post on social media showing a child or teen who has gone missing from their home with the caption, "It takes 2 seconds to share." Well, experts say sometimes that's not enough.
We get calls for all different situations. Obviously, our lane is the children being trafficked, and we want to prevent that. And a runaway is high risk for trafficking. They just are.
In 2021, there was 25,000 children who were reported missing to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. 1 in 6 of those were likely sex trafficking victims.
We believe that is actually higher because you only have roughly 1% of the victims recovered.
Canary says runaways are vulnerable.
Children go out into the world by themselves and they find themselves in need, hungry, thirsty, scared. That's when the traffickers come by and go, hey, I got a safe place for you.
We sat down with one local family who has been worried sick for over 2 weeks now, holding on to hope that their 16-year-old daughter is not in danger after running away from home.
We're getting closer, we feel, but at the same time, we feel like we're further away.
Harley left home with no car or phone, but did leave a note. Her parents and best friend have been searching for her nonstop and following every single tip or lead that comes to them with help from police. But as the leads become dead ends and the days without their daughter get longer, they can't help but wonder the worst.
There's this trend going around where friends are selling friends to sex trafficking. And that's our biggest fear right now. And that's why we're so worried. And every lead, we literally rush out this door.
Harley's mother and father believe there are people or friends who are harboring their daughter and are pleading to bring her back home.
If you hear this message, just come home. I love you so much.
It's a stark reminder that if you ever see something suspicious or believe someone could be in danger, to report it immediately. Lexis Green, 3 News.
And our prayers go out to the family tonight. Thank you, Lexis, for that report. One question that always comes to our newsroom is why some of these cases are highlighted by law enforcement and media, while others are simply not. Our policy here at 3 News is to be careful when identifying minors and follow the direction of police to see if the teen is believed to be in danger. Police will make that determination based on the specifics of each individual case.
There's a big difference between a missing person and a runaway. So a missing person is somebody that just comes up missing. Runaway is typically a juvenile that has a history of it, or the parents knew that it was the child was going to run away.
So when you hear about a missing person that hasn't been widely publicized, it doesn't mean police aren't investigating. When they determine someone is in danger, alerts are put out because they believe the public can play a major role in bringing that person back home. And when we
Okay, fathers, what are your thoughts on that video? I'm going to give you my thoughts as an expert working in the criminal justice system, as a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer. I've already said this in several videos, fathers, and I need you to understand what I'm saying. My experience as a state juvenile probation officer and working with female probationers, getting them on probation. 90% of them were runaway little girls, okay? So when I get these young ladies on probation, I start speaking to them and start speaking about their families. And you hear the kid's perspective and then you hear the family's perspective. There's a disconnect. And the disconnect for most of these little girls, the ones that I supervised in the criminal justice system, it began birth to 10 years of age. It didn't happen when they became teenagers, preteens. There were a lot of issues with these little girls, birth to 10. And this is what I have to stress this to fathers. I really have to stress the relationship that you have to build with your daughters, birth to 10, is either going to keep them safe or eventually they're going to become victims between 11 and 18 years of age. That's on us, fathers. That's on us, dads. I don't know what's going on in this household with this family. I'm not going to pass judgment, but I'm explaining to you my professional experience and what I dealt with as a state juvenile probation officer in the criminal justice system. 90% of the little girls I supervised, 90% were runaway little girls. They were disconnected from both parents. And when you start speaking to these little girls, it's for a variety of reasons. The majority of the reasons, they were in the house. disconnected from their fathers in the house, disconnected from their mothers in the house, drug and alcohol abuse in the house, physical abuse in the house. Those things come to light when they end up on probation because we get what's called a pre-sentence investigation report, PSI. It's written. All the information comes from the parents and the kids. And when you get that information, the truth comes out. A lot of these families, a lot of the girls that I supervised have been through family court and the Department of Human Services, AKA Social Services, AKA Child Protection Services. So their families were very, very familiar with the criminal justice system. So it wasn't their first time that they've run away from home. They had a history of it. Little girls just don't decide to one day pack up and bounce. That has not been my experience. I'm sure it does happen, but that was not my experience. So fathers, I'm explaining to you the sense of urgency, birth to 10. The sense of urgency, birth to 18. But birth to 10, you got to get it right. Because if you don't get it right, fathers, birth to 10, I can promise you, your baby girls are going to make you pay. And as you can see, these parents, they don't know what to do. I'm sure they feel totally helpless. I'm sure they do. When I was a probation officer, like I said, 90% of the little girls. And the one thing I can tell you is when your child runs away from home, cops ain't looking for them. I've already discussed this in a couple videos as well. Shared a couple videos. They don't look for your children. The way they come across your kids being runaways is if they happen to get in trouble. Most kids are going to be caught because they're somewhere they're not supposed to be. And they're runaways. That's how they're going to get caught. They're either going to get in trouble or they're going to be spotted somewhere. But cops ain't looking for them. And a lot of parents don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. That's what it is, parents. When your child runs away from home, cops ain't looking for them. So they're just not a priority. And as hard as that is for a lot of parents to hear, I'm all about truth on my on Grow That YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was a state juvenile probation officer, and I'm telling you, when my little girls ran away from home while they were on probation, while I was supervising them, I had to go to the magistrate. We got the warrants issued, and we waited until they got picked up. And most of the girls that went away from home in the criminal justice system, you don't see them from 3 months to a year because they're great at hiding. And they always like this law enforcement officer said, there's adults that are harboring these children. They know. Most little girls, they've already set this out. They've already had this plan in place to leave. So it's new to parents, but it's not new for them. Okay, fathers, let's take a look at this next video.
And interested in finding.
Okay, fathers, this next video that I'm going to share with you is talking about sex trafficking of our baby girls. Okay, and the pimps that are involved. In today's environment of social media platforms, it is way easier for predators to get access to our children. It is so easy because every child has a smartphone. And this next video is disturbing. But fathers, it has to be shown and it needs to be shown. I want to make sure that fathers have all the information that they need in order to make informed decisions when it comes to our baby girls. So I would do everything in my power to get the information to fathers of daughters, all fathers, and giving you resources. Because a lot of our baby girls, they're going to need interventions. They just are, especially when there's a breakdown in the family and the disconnect with the parents. So that's what I'm here for, fathers of daughters. Okay, fathers, here we go with the next video.
Thank you for joining us. Sex trafficking is an issue we hear about often, but how bad is the problem in our community? It's not something you'll see in the streets in cities like Green Bay or Appleton, but it's definitely lurking online.
The pimps who rope victims into sex trafficking prey on those who are vulnerable, like teenagers having problems with their families. Reporter Alexandra Burnley shares what you need to know as a parent to keep your child protected. Alexandra?
The average age of a sex trafficking victim is 12 to 14 years old. Now, the prefrontal cortex in our brains, which helps us out with making judgments and decisions, isn't fully developed until age 25. So it's much harder for a young girl to understand when she is being manipulated. And that's why experts say parents, teachers, and counselors play such a critical role in watching for the signs to protect a child from trafficking.
Matt found me on Facebook. We would chat for hours at night. He was always the perfect gentleman and interested in finding out everything that was going on in my life.
This film, entitled Innocence Sold, was produced in the Fox cities and shows how easily a child or a teenager can be lured into sex trafficking.
I start chatting with them online, let them know I care.
It can start off with problems at home.
Oh, you're fighting with your parents. Oh, you're not having a good time at home. Well, meet me at the mall, meet me at the movies. I'll buy you, the new pair of Jordans, or I'll buy you a movie and then come back next week and then I'll get your hair done or something.
And just like that, a young girl can be influenced by a pimp and the cycle begins.
Human trafficking is about pimps manipulating young females, typically females, adults and teenagers. They want to gain the trust of that female, whether it be through purchases that they're doing or that their boyfriend, girlfriend, quote unquote, because they want to have something over that young girl's head to then force them to go out and make money for them.
If your child is on social media, pimps will have an easier time trying to manipulate them because of how accessible accounts can be. A local girl says she was a target of sex trafficking.
Honestly, I have been fished for trafficking multiple times, and because my mom is such a strong woman and taught me what to do in instances like this, I made it through.
The Sexual Assault Crisis Center in Appleton works with 15 school districts to teach 7th graders how to look for signs when someone is trying to lure them into danger.
It seems safe because it's just a device, whether it's a tablet or a phone or a laptop of some sort, but that's the number one way that these young children are being recruited.
That's why it's important to have access to your children's phones, and that includes having their passwords to unlock their phones, accounts to social media, and other websites.
Even though the parents pay for the cell phone plan and paid for that cell phone, they cannot give the police consent to go into that phone. The Supreme Court has said the children have an expectation of privacy if the parents don't know the information to get in the phone and regularly search the phone to see what they're doing. So if a parent calls and says, hey, I think my 16-year-old is involved in something, here's her cell phone, I'm going to give you consent to search it. If I say, well, you don't have permission to because you're not constantly searching it or you don't know the passcode, parents freak out about that. But that's just the way the world works nowadays.
While pimps mostly target children online, there are signs parents can look for.
Is the student suddenly missing class? Are they skipping school? Are they going on trips that they had never gone on before, leaving town for days at a time? Also, do they have multiple cell phones?
With Matt, we were talking about places to travel.
And parents, take note. If your child is writing about problems at home onto their social media pages, pimps will try to take advantage of their distress.
So there are people out there who are just looking for those vulnerable clues, those vulnerable words, and that's what they're going to glom onto. So again, it comes back to, okay, so if it is open to the public, be careful what you're saying. So again, that's a conversation that parents and teachers and counselors and trusted adults can have with kids. Be careful what you're saying on social media.
If you want your photos to get passed around, you always gotta show a little skin.
The number one way to fight back against a predator is keeping an open line of communication with your child.
just having those casual conversations when you're in the car and you're driving someplace, or, you know, you're doing something that you do as a family and those conversations come up, just being there and hearing it, listening for those key words.
Sergeant Matt Wilson also told me that the Brown County Sheriff's Office arrested more than 50 buyers of sex, also known as Johns, last year. If you would like to learn more about the resources out there to help victims of sex trafficking, we have those listed in a story on our website at wearegreenbay.com. In the studio, Alexandra Burnley, Local 5 News.
Okay, fathers, another excellent video. I have one more video that I want to share with you, fathers, today. Fathers, the one thing you're noticing is communication and validation begin in the home with our baby girls. That is 100% our responsibility. That is 100% on us. Communication and validation. It begins at home. Birth to 10 years of age, fathers. You have to understand these behaviors that are taking place are from little girls that are 11 to 17 years of age. 11 to 17, that's when most children, most little girls are going to get in trouble, between 11 and 17, not before, right? Once the bodies start changing, puberty, and everything they got going on as young women. So the sense of urgency, fathers, I have to stress it. Baby girls are different than baby boys. Baby girls are different than baby boys. I didn't raise sons. I have nephews. I was a part of all my nephews' lives as their uncle. I had to keep them on track. Yes, they had their fathers. But when you have uncles and you have fathers doing that job, totally different than not having anyone. So it's critical, fathers, that we handle what we need to handle, birth to 10 in the home. Communication and validation. They go hand in hand, fathers. It's necessary. And it has to happen. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in a situation that we're probably not going to be able to get our baby girls out of. It may be too late. Okay? So we have one more video, fathers, and then I'm going to wrap up this live stream. I appreciate your presence and appreciate your attendance. Blessings, fathers.
Estimated that tens.
Okay, fathers, last video.
In the United States, it's estimated that tens of thousands of women and girls are sold into sex slavery. In America, okay? Not the Eastern Bloc, America. A 14-year-old girl in California was one of them. Lured in by drugs, addiction, then sold for sex by a street gang. But she was rescued. She found an escape with the help of journalist Michael Schellenberger, who joins us now. I got to tell you, Mike, this is why I fell in love with you, by the way. Twitter files, we'll talk about that next.
Very sweet.
But
Sure.
when I was getting to know you and your work in San Francisco, this story blew me away. Tell us what people need to know about how you got involved, what you learned, and how she got rescued.
Sure, Chris. Well, thank you so much for shining a light on this story. This is an amazing story. A 13-year-old girl was being sex trafficked, meaning used as a prostitute by a criminal gang known as MS-13, an extremely violent criminal gang. She is an orphan. We're told by her grandmother that she blames herself for her parents' deaths. She got suffering serious trauma. Often, we don't know in this case, but often these girls are hooked on drugs. They're also manipulated emotionally. And there had been an earlier attempt to rescue the girl in mid-January by private investigators with a nonprofit organization called Special Operations for Finding Kids. And the San Francisco police dropped the ball. They just did not properly respond to a call. We were on a ride along with these guys. We were studying the issue, and we told the San Francisco Police Department that we would be writing about this failure of the police. And the good news is that the assistant police chief is himself a father of a 15-year-old girl. It's an interesting part of the story. We're all dads. Most of us have daughters. And that touches something very primal in us. So it doesn't matter your politics. It doesn't matter if you think drugs or prostitution should be legal or illegal. No father, no parent thinks it's okay for a 14-year-old girl to be sex trafficked. And so the police department stepped up, and a couple of nights ago, they rescued her. And she's now getting the services she needs. It's going to be a long road to recovery, as you can imagine, from a trauma like that. But we're all obviously thrilled for it. And the people that deserve the most credit is this group called Special Operations Finding Kids.
Now, what did you learn that you want people to know about how much more present this is in our reality than people are cognizant of right now? Because we think of this as a world away, and it's really just prostitution, right? And this has always happened, right? This is not unusual, and most of the women that get caught up in it, they're foreign, right? What's the reality?
I think the most important thing for people to know is that this is coercive, and that there may be some prostitutes that are in it willingly, but many of these young women, particularly minors, are not in it through free consent. I think that we tend to think of like these vice crimes, whether it's open air drug dealing or street walking, as, mostly just someone being prudish or moralistic at best, or, really harmful against the girls and the women in the industry. It's not the case. Often these crimes that they call victimless crimes do have victims.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.
Okay, fathers. Okay, fathers. Another live stream. Understanding our father-daughter assignment. Sex trafficking is real, fathers. And more than likely, if your child runs away from home, this is the default in which they will end up in as a minor. So we have to get it right. Birth to 10 years of age, fathers. Birth to 10, we got to get it right, so that we don't put our daughters in a situation to where they can end up being sex trafficked or murdered. Okay? All right, fathers, another live stream. Appreciate you. Thank you for being present. Thank you for showing up. I am building Girl Dad YouTube channel organically. And I'm very happy with the success that I'm having. Organically is the only way to go as far as I'm concerned. I don't worry about subscribers. I'm going to eventually reach my audience of men, fathers, all fathers. I'm going to reach them. It's going to happen because I know a lot and I got a lot to say, got a lot to share. And fathers, they need me. So, Girl Dad YouTube channel is in the house. My book, Daddy's Girls, is available at Amazon.com. Okay, fathers, until next week's live stream, you know the routine. E. Martin, I'm out, fathers. Peace.